Hey everyone, welcome to YouTube Creator Academy. I'm Cami, and this is our resident expert, Jared, from YouTube, and we're broadcasting live from the heart of YouTube in San Bruno. We're excited to have you join us today to kick off our Hangout series for our Maximize Our Channel course. The series is to hear about folks in the trenches and answer their burning questions. And today we have Andre Meadows from Black Nerd Comedy Channel.
Hello.
Taryn Southern from Taryn Southern.
Hello.
Richard Ryan from Rated RR.
What's happening, guys?
So let's find out more about these guys. Tell us about your channel and what inspired you to get started. Andre.
My channel is called Black Nerd Comedy. I've been doing it for a few years, back when I didn't know anything about YouTube or how it worked. But I've been doing it a lot more frequently the last couple years, making consistent content, 2 to 3 videos a week, where I do rants and vlogs and event coverage and interviews and occasional sketches and parodies, and they're all just based around nerd culture and retro culture, particularly nostalgia retro culture. I'm a big fan of 80s and 90s cartoons and TV shows and obscure things that for some reason I'm obsessed about: Smurfs, Gremlins, Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers. So all that kind of stuff is what I talk about on my channel. It's a lot of fun.
Cool. And Richard?
I would say I'm kind of like an adrenaline-fueled hodgepodge of things, from destroying different types of technology to skydiving, creating my own gadgets, demolition, blowing stuff up, recreating elements of movies and video games in real life, just all kinds of cool stuff.
And Taryn?
My channel I launched in September, Taryn Southern, and it's a mixture of musical comedy videos, vlogs about topics that are just bizarre, sketches, a little bit of everything, a hodgepodge. I'm still figuring it out because I'm somewhat new. Although I've been on YouTube since 2007. I would just put out like 1 video a year on a different channel. So I'm kind of new to the game, but I'm having a blast.
Okay, so what is something that you actually did on your channel that really got your channel to take off?
I didn't know a lot of YouTubers personally, so it was just grasping at straws at the beginning, and I used to just do a video like once every couple months or a few weeks, and I didn't know that at that time, at the internet time, is much longer. It feels much longer when it's short. So definitely when I was started doing regular weekly content, I do like 2 to 3 videos a week now. That definitely got people to remember my channel and keep coming back to it week after week.
That's awesome. What about you, Richard?
I think there were a few key factors. Definitely the consistency was a huge one, because people would forget about me after a while, and then if I wasn't uploading on a fairly regular basis, then it was easy for them to not return. And then also I'd say probably creating stuff that really embedded well, topical stuff. A lot of my stuff deals with like current events or hot gadgets and stuff like that. So that's really helped out a lot, but also working with creators who have a similar demographic as I. So that really helped supercharge me over the last few years.
And then what about you, Taryn?
As for me, it's very similar, a variety of factors, but my first few videos I put out when I didn't have any subscribers actually did very well view-wise. So I think I was a little bit spoiled. I thought, you just put a video up and it gets 750,000 views in a couple of days. And then when I launched my channel in September, I realized that it's a different beast now. There's just a lot more content creators out there, but it certainly doesn't mean it's impossible. I think the consistency was a huge thing. Definitely collaborating with key YouTubers that have a similar audience as you. But I think also making collaborations meaningful. That was the biggest thing for me. Instead of just like having someone be in a video and hoping that they'll share it or tweet it out to their audience, or being on their channel and hoping that some people notice you and check you out on yours, it's like really creating strategic collaborations. So, for example, my friend Jason Horton and I, we do a lot of sketches together, and he'll come over to my apartment and I'll shoot a sketch and he'll shoot a sketch, and they'll both have a similar theme. And then we'll link to each other's channels at the end of the sketch saying, all right, I got pregnant in this sketch, find out what happens to the baby on Jason's channel. And the return of audience movement on those kinds of collaborations is so much higher than just kind of showing up and being out in someone else's video, which is still valuable, but I always am like, trying to kind of think of new ways to work with my friends that will benefit both of us, regardless of our size.
Cool.
I guarantee you Jason's going to watch this and he's going to go, yes, Tara name drop. You were the first person to ever name drop Jason Hort.
Yeah, no, it's true. Oh, and then the other thing, I'd just like to throw in one last little thing that I've sort of realized over the course of creating content is really having stuff that has a strong point of view. I think it's easy to sometimes get nervous and want to put something out that maybe pleases everyone, and I've done that a lot. And instead of just kind of going for something that's very specific, that is like social commentary or, like you were saying, sort of topical, something that people are talking about, but really trying to keep your videos thematic and sort of like swallowable, because I feel like that's the kind of content that people are sharing on Facebook. You know, if you're getting married, you're going to share like the funny like wedding vlog or wedding sketch on YouTube. So it's like fun to kind of know who your audience is.
That's fantastic. Well, we're learning about in the course how to maximize your channel. So I want to know how you guys actually use the one channel design to get your channel supercharged, and what are the benefits of it? So Andre.
For me, it was probably the sections. Definitely being able to use those a little bit more, because before with playlists, I love the YouTube playlist, but I always felt like with some of the older designs that sometimes it was harder to get to them and they were buried or whatever. So I love that you have the sections now, so you can kind of coordinate your channel. So if you do different types of videos, like I do rants, but then I also do sketches, and so it's nice to be able to sort of coordinate that, so that stuff that may got missed because it's older material or whatever now has a specific place for it, and people can be like, oh, if I like this particular type of video, then here I can just see them all right there in front of me. So I think that's a really neat concept, and I'm still playing around with that, because you can do it with shows, you can also do it with topics that are related, and I think that's a neat way to use that section.
Cool. And then you Richard?
I couldn't agree more. I think organization's really key, because a lot of people, they focus a lot, so much effort on getting a video ready to upload and everything, and then once it's up there, they just kind of forget about it. And your library views can account for the bulk of your views if you organize them correctly. And I think that's one of the overlooked categories of the one channel design. But also the trailer, being able to hook people in, whereas you did have a spot where you could autoplay stuff in the past. This focuses a little bit more for the unsubscribed user, and I think that helps benefit me a lot, because I get a lot of embeds on Gizmodo, TechCrunch, Geekology, and stuff like that. So all these new demographics or viewers potentially coming over to my channel, they might not understand what my channel's about, so that trailer is a really good real estate for me to showcase what I'm all about and everything. So.
Fantastic. And Sharon?
I really love just sort of that the interface is consistent across all the channels. It makes it really easy for people to watch on mobile. It's easier for them to find the subscribe button. It's a lot easier for them to find, I think, the links relating to our other outside content, which is important, I think, for us as content creators to be able to contextualize everything that we do. I think before it was just a little tougher. You just see a lot of videos and they're kind of all haphazardly everywhere. And on the one channel, we can organize them, and we also have a place that everyone knows exactly where all of our other links are to our website, to our Twitter, to our Facebook feed, so they can get a better picture of who we are as digital personalities, if you will.
Cool. So if there's one tip that you could to give to our creators, what would that be around one channel? Andre?
I would say learn it. I feel like anytime anything happens on YouTube, the immediate response is like, "Oh my God!" YouTube be like, "Hey, here's $500. Why are you giving me $500? YouTube, go away!" That's the reaction. So I feel like we should just learn it, because what's going to happen now, since everyone's getting switched over, is the people that have done the research and played around with it are good, and everyone else for the next 2 weeks is going to be like, "What's my banner size? How do I do this? What are these sections?" And so it's like, get that out of the way. Go ahead and learn it. Make it work to your advantage, and be at the top of the game rather than being in the pool of whinies.
Richard?
Yeah, no, definitely learn the interface and set up your assets, just so it benefits you. I mean, you have a really nice real estate at the top that you can use. And I've said this before, but I love that it takes the MySpace out of YouTube. You don't have to worry about like the flashy stuff that confuses the viewer who comes to your page and everything. Mm-hmm. But with the real estate that you do get, make use of it. Let people know who you are or where to go here. Your thumbnails and everything, being able to section out playlists and everything. We were talking with Laura earlier. Her stuff, creating food and everything is perfect, because it does. It looks like a menu of little plates of food all the way across and everything. So if you organize it appropriately, then you could really, really benefit from it. So
I couldn't agree more with what you just said. I think you have to make use of that real estate. Yes, there is less quote-unquote customization than we had before, but I think that's good. It is that MySpace conundrum of like all the sparkly graphics and so much stuff going on that you can't find anything, and this just it keeps everyone consistent. But one thing that I really tried to figure out when I was designing my banner is how to put in, how to best include fonts and titling into that to provide context, again, for my channel. Like, if you're a movie poster, what's your tagline? Like, what's your byline? What's going to tell people about you? You don't have a whole lot of space in that little banner, so make use of it and make sure that your brand, it's very, very clear what you're about. I still haven't really done that yet for mine, but it's on. But I have been playing with fonts. So I do have fonts up there that say Taryn TV, new videos every Tuesday, in parentheses most of the time, and just to play with like the sizing. But I am planning on putting a little bit more in there, which I think is just nice and helpful.
That's fantastic, and then that's one of the activities for the course participants for next week is to actually work on all their assets.
Good.
So let's talk.
Can I add a tip to that, about the banner? If you make your banner, pull out your cell phone and see how it looks on your phone too, because it's a good cue, particularly with fonts, size. Something that might look good on the computer may not look the same way on the cell phone, so be sure it looks nice across the board.
I'm going to do that right now, Andre. Not even kidding.
Hold on one second.
Any other tips?
That's it.
Okay, cool. So let's talk about, I've heard a lot of different types of identity. So let's talk a little bit about your brand. And
Sorry, I did good.
So tell us about your brand and how are you actually messaging it to folks? And Taryn, since you showed us our phone, tell us about your brand.
Oh my God, I'm still figuring out my brand. It sounds so cheesy to say, your brand because it's me. I'm like a person, but I'm really fascinated by like the notion of personal branding, and we see it everywhere from like a talk show host like Ellen to a famous chef like Gordon Ramsay. These are people that have really built massive careers around their personal brand. And I think for me, it's been a big experiment since September because I do a lot of different things, and I started off as an actress, so I'm used to going into audition rooms and having to read someone else's lines and become a character for them. And so I was like, oh my gosh, who am I? Like, who am I on YouTube? What does that look like? Because one day I'm like, super serious and dramatic, and I'm like singing like sad cover songs, and the next day I'm doing ridiculous sketches. This is going to get really confusing for my audience. And so I started honing in on things just over time that were fun for me. There were like elements of my personality that I just wanted to kind of like, I guess, focus on for my content. And then B, just started like really looking into topics that I feel like I'm fascinated by and I can have a lot of movement with over time. So just to give you an example for my channel, I've obviously focused heavily on comedy. Very rarely do I deviate from that. Usually quirky, I'm sort of a mess type of videos, like girl trying to figure it out, which is typically me most of the time. But I center my content around those themes, and then a lot of times like sort of dive into social commentary type stuff, like what is dating like now because of technology, or like a lot of things that like young teenagers and 20-somethings deal with. I try to just ingest that into my comedy. So what does that look like as a brand? I don't know. I'm still figuring it out, but I feel like I'm getting closer every single week by experimenting, looking at my analytics, seeing what people are responding to, and also just knowing what I'm having fun with. Like, what at the end of the day, you want to have fun with your content. Don't force yourself. And like, if you're into tech, but like I don't know, like just don't. I feel like some people are like, oh, I should go after the gaming vertical because it's so huge. And it's like, if you're not a huge gamer, you're going to be miserable. That just does, and it's going to come out that you're not passionate about it. So ultimately, you have to like center your brand around your passion and around what you're already, what gets you excited every single week.
Cool, Richard.
Yeah, I'll have to reiterate on that. I mean, I think once you do figure it out, you have to own it. Whenever I was on Totally Sketch, we had a predominantly younger female demographic, and whenever I started my channel, I'm doing firearms, explosives, and stuff like that. And so I burned a good 80% of my audience as soon as I started getting consistent with my videos. But I owned it, and it's something that I really enjoyed doing, and I knew the direction that I wanted to go. So over time, it took a few years, but my audience now is predominantly like 92% male.
Yeah.
And that's because I own that brand on my channel, Rated RR, and then that converts into I just did a thing with Discovery where we went and filmed this adventure series for Discovery in Montana, and that's very specific to my Rated RR brand. But I also have other ones. I'm still an actor. I still do impressions. The Owen Wilson and Sylvester Stallone and stuff that I did on Totally Sketch. And I still do that character stuff, but it lives on their brand. So I'm very consistent with that branding cross platforms. And if my audience converts via Twitter and Facebook and stuff, then great. And if not, then at least I enjoy what I'm doing. But I'm consistent with it. So.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. And then Andre, I know you've made a name for yourself.
Yeah. I feel like
Andre's great at this.
Yeah, I think it's a mix of what you're into and your personality. Because the thing is, obviously there's a lot of content creators out there nowadays, and new ones coming by the second. And so I think it is very important that you establish something about yourself. And it could be the topics that you talk about. It could be the type of way that you do comedy. One person does very sarcastic humor, another person may do squeaky clean humor, another person may do very edgy material. It's about what makes you you. Because I think what's happening now, or what I see from time to time, particularly with newer creators, is that they'll go, oh, hey, so-and-so is really popular, so I'm just going to do that. And it's like, well, we don't need to do that because we already got that. We need you. There's a reason why people can stand out, and you can have various people talking about the exact same topic, but you get people who are like, well, I want to see what that person has to say about it, or I want to see how that person handles this subject matter. When you start getting those types of responses, that's when you know that you've made a specific brand for yourself. And then, once you kind of figure that out, you create not only your channel, but all your social networks, everything kind of has to be consistent with that thought. You can't be happy-go-lucky on YouTube and whining and complaining all the time on Twitter. It's like it's got to be all one nice, consistent brand. So that people get the sense of like they connect with you. Because once they get that connection, they're like, oh, I know this person. Then that's, again, when they keep coming back. So.
But Andre, why?
Why?
No, I think that's great. Just hearing from your side, it's like having that passion, and then really trying to make sure that you're true to it, and that you also like your audience and you want to engage with them. So I think that's a great way to be consistent as well.
I wonder if anybody ever really does hate their audience. Is there some creator out there who's like, man, my viewers,
they just suck.
Well, I think it could be if you have you're hoping for one demographic and you get another.
No,
well, that happened with me. My first couple of videos that came out were sort of viral video. Well, I don't know. They got a lot of views back in the old days. So when I launched my channel, my first 20,000, 30,000 subs, it was just all dudes. And there was a lot of 50-year-old men on my channel, and I was like, I don't know if it's possible for me to get a female audience, but I'd love to have that, but still be myself. And the funny thing is now my audience is 55% female, 13 to 17, and 17 to 25. That's my demo, and I was so excited by that because I was like, I don't know, I'm still happy to have the dudes. The dudes, it's across the board, they're all there, at the same level, and it's 45% male, but there's not a strong demo, and so I was really shocked to find that now my primary demo is very concrete and female, and that made me really happy, and that was just a result of really tailoring my content. Not my voice and not my point of view. My point of view is still the same. I'm kind of like a dude. I act like a dude. I talk like a dude. But the content itself, the issues that I was talking about and the things, I think they were a little more female-centric, and that appealed to a female audience.
Cool. So do you have any tips for our new creators trying to establish a brand? I'll turn this around and start with Taryn.
Oh, again. Wow. All right.
I'll go around clockwise.
Sure. I think the most important thing is to really have a point of view. Sit down and write out 10 qualities about yourself, including, please, make at least half of them about your faults and your weaknesses, because I swear that's going to be the most interesting stuff that comes out in your work. I think something about YouTube that makes YouTube special is the content creators that populate it and the personalities that are really big are very self-aware and are not afraid to make fun of themselves, whether it's in a sketch or in a vlog, and I think it's really important to own everything you are, and just like make that your brand. So if you're a hot mess, then great, fantastic. Like, then just go after it. I don't know. Like, I think that's just the most important thing, is just being very clear about your branding, because you could kind of try to run that middle line and you might do okay, but you'll never, ever, ever, I don't think you'll ever hit it big. You know, I mean, if you look at, I'll just use a couple female comedians, for example, and there's not very many of us on YouTube, but Grace Helbig, Jenna Marbles, whether you like them or not, and I love them, but like whether you like them or not, they have a very strong point of view. And they don't really deviate from that, and they're not afraid to say what they want to say with fear of retribution, and I think that makes them really interesting. So that's what I recommend.
Cool. Richard?
Yeah, I think definitely if you decide to go any direction in creating content, if you don't own it and you're not 110% behind it, the audience will read through it in the very first 10 seconds. People who are really passionate about the stuff that they do, it always translates for better or worse, you know. And I think that if you're really excited about it, then you can try to figure out the type of formatting for your episodes, whatever. For me, as an example, without getting too long-winded, is I literally sat down and I was like, hey, you know what? I don't want to take away from Totally Sketch and do the exact same thing that I'm doing on there. I want to do something different, but I need to be able to wake myself up in the morning and be legit excited about it. But also, I need to have a type of business model that might be sustainable in the future if for some reason it takes off or it doesn't. And I need to be able to enjoy doing this on a fairly regular basis. And for me, I was like, well, what would be evergreen, or what would constantly be renewing? New gadgets and stuff like that are always coming out. So there's plenty of weapon systems out there. So I created the Tech Assassin vertical. And then even then, that might be a little too boring for me. So I created the breakdown because I wanted to take elements of movies and video games and recreate them in real life. And so that stuff is always coming out. So I'm like, I always have this new idea or something that I can recreate that's just so much fun and challenging. For example, Ghost Recon Future Soldier, I took 3 months working like 14-hour days and built and, developed 4 different prototype drones that drop these explosives and stuff like that for a video. And if you had asked me 2 years ago if I would have wanted to go skydiving, I would have told you no. And because of a movie, Act of Valor, I learned how to skydive and stuff. So it constantly, my content evolves with me, but I always enjoy doing what I'm doing. So if anything, like that kind of is what wakes me up in the morning. So I think that type of excitement always translates whenever people watch my videos. So.
Cool. Andre?
I think definitely just finding and owning your voice is very, very important, because you could have, like I said earlier, you can have a lot of people talking about the same subject matter, but there's a reason why you'll listen to one person talk about it over the other. Particularly someone who did a lot with nerd culture, and with nerd culture becoming very mainstream, I'm seeing a lot of videos, whether you're on YouTube or other sources, where it's like, all right, let's get the top 3 trending nerd topics and have someone just stand up in front of a green screen and talk basically a press release and give no opinion whatsoever one way or the other. And I try my hardest to stay away from that as far as possible, and be very passionate about it, whether I really like it, really hate it, have an opinion one way or the other. Because if anything, whether they agree with you or disagree, it engages conversation. It makes someone maybe think of something a way about a thing that they never thought about before, or not, or be like, well, what about this opinion? And you kind of get some engagement going back and forth. And I just feel like that's super important on YouTube, no matter what you do. Because that's the whole reason why people are here. It's not just to watch the content. They want to engage with the personality. So if you can figure out what that voice is and make your voice strong, it's really helpful. So again, try to find your spot. Try to make it where people will see something that you're into and go, I want to know what that person thinks about that. I want to see what Andre thinks about that. Like, that's a wonderful feeling, because now it feels like people understand your brand and understand what you're into, and can even help you with creating future content. It's great.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of examples of where you think that you're alone in the world. You create this video, and there's a lot of people out there who can be there with you. And so I know it's a great way to build community as well. So let's think about, how do people actually find your videos? Are they looking at through your channel, your social media, and website? I heard you guys saying you're reaching out to other types of social media platforms to really make sure that you have a consistent brand that's that's going across them? And I'm going to start back with Andre.
Part of it is topics, because I do a lot of rants about topical things. So if Ninja Turtles being rebooted for the movie with Megan Fox and April O'Neil has been a gold mine for me. But it's just like those types of topics really help out a lot, because people are searching for that stuff already, and so they know, because of my brand, they know when certain topics come up. It's like, oh, let's see if Andre made a video about that, or if not, let's write him on Twitter or Facebook or Google Plus and let them know and stuff. But then I've also noticed recently that a lot of people are actually just searching me, like they're searching Black Nerd or Black Nerd Comedy. So that's a cool thing too. So that's again where sections and getting all your content together with proper playlist or by subject matter is really helpful, because you're finding people who may have found one of your videos like, well, I want to see what else this person has done, and are maybe trying to look through your back catalog and try to figure things out and see what else you've done. So I think that's important.
Cool. Richard?
Yeah, I agree 110%. In all honesty, I don't know how to one-up that. I don't know how to one-up that.
Okay, we can move on to Taryn.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I feel the number one thing that has attributed to me being found on YouTube is absolutely doing the collaborations and just doing really strategic collabs. That's been huge for me. I after starting my channel in September. I mean, I think things have changed a lot, so it's really hard to start a brand from nothing. So to be able to be a part of other people that have existing brands and help leverage that in order to build an audience that makes sense for you, it's the fastest way to do it. Whenever I do a major collaboration with someone, and I could go into more depth about like how I do that, but if it's with a YouTuber that's much bigger than I do, much bigger than I am, I can sometimes milk 5,000 to 9,000 subscribers out of that collaboration when it's done right. And those subscribers, you'll lose some of them, but for the most part, like that's how my content is found. Outside of that, there's obviously, like Andre was saying, playlisting. I don't do topical stuff, so I don't get to necessarily feed on Google search engine as much, but I do covers every once in a while. I try to do like comedic takes on covers, so I don't change the lyrics. Like I'll just keep the cover, but I'll do something in the video that is supposed to be funny or somewhat funny, and that's worked out very well for me for SEO. People looking for the covers, finding them, liking my take, and then coming back. So I think those are the two biggest things for me as far as video searchability. Now retaining audience is a whole other thing, but collaborations have definitely driven the most people to my channel.
I guess I will add something to Andre's end when it comes to SEO. Is that, I think one big mistake that a lot of people make is they think, oh, topical's topical, and so I'll just do this, and then I'll get so many views. And for me, if you do create something, it needs to be somewhat entertaining. Let's say you can't just title something of popular culture or parody or something like that, and then expect it to do well. One of the big things that I've been really trying to streamline, especially with like Gizmodo and some of these bigger blogs that embed my videos, is getting it to a point where there's as little fluff as possible. There's not as much, like shameless self-promotion inside of it, and it's just as engaging as possible. And that also helps in search rankings and stuff in YouTube and Google. The more engaging your video is, the higher it'll rank. So that stuff's really, really important. If you do decide to go that route, just make sure that you make it as entertaining as possible, and don't try to, if you try to game the system and by titling stuff with, clever titles and thumbnails, but the content isn't there, then it really doesn't benefit you any. And those people don't stick around; they don't convert. So,
cool. That's awesome. And then, what about your analytics? What do you actually do to look at your analytics and know whether or not it's something that you've tried out, whether it's engagement or looking at the different components of your videos? What is it that you actually look at when you dive into your analytics?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, me?
Yes.
Okay. Audience retention. That's my big one. Like, just how long are people sticking around? Because kind of like what Richard was saying, there's been a lot of change with YouTube lately, which I think is for the better, where if you have a good audience engagement and people are sticking around and watching your videos, that helps you with related searches or related videos or with people finding your videos better. So I'm really, really big on that because, if you say Rihanna in your title and Rihanna is your thumbnail, and then I go in and it's just you're not even talking about Rihanna, like everyone jumps out of that right away, and that's going to actually hurt you nowadays. Whereas, in the past that could have actually helped, but now that's not the case. So I make sure that, everything is kind of related, and even if it's like I'm talking about a certain subject, it's me talking about it, not the actual thing. So that way I can go back and check my audience retention and see if people are sticking around and watching those videos, or seeing where they're dropping off, or seeing where there might be the nice little like spike where they come back and rewind and watch a certain part again, which are very interesting. I've found some very interesting parts of videos that people seem to watch over and over again. So that kind of stuff is helpful to knowing, if you need to stretch, shorten, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, Richard.
I will try to be as fast as possible with this because analytics is like one of those parts or aspects of YouTube that most new creators don't even think of utilizing, and it's bar none one of the most important when it comes to how you're figuring out your brand, how you figure out to edit and stuff like that. So audience retention, definitely monitor that. Get a couple, 10 videos or something like that for a frame of reference, and find out where people are tuning in, jumping out, going back and looking. For example, the slow motion stuff, people always go back into my videos to look at the slow motion stuff. I have huge spikes where the slow motion stuff's at. So that lets me know I need to incorporate more. Maybe I should do standalone videos and stuff like that. If people are dropping off, maybe you need to cut your videos a little tighter. And, some people might not like that. But, for YouTube and engagement, that, the audience retention or audience attention span is really short at times. So keep in mind, people are watching stuff on a mobile device or watching it on a tablet, might not necessarily be leaned back or on the couch. So jumping into other realms of analytics, if you rely on SEO as much as I do, then you really need to find out who is embedding your videos. So you go through, you look at, is the bulk of my views coming from Facebook? Is it Twitter? Is it Gizmodo? Is it TechCrunch? If it's a blog, then find out, type in your video into their search and find out who embedded it. Give that person a tweet, shoot them an email, tell them thank you for embedding. Do they have any questions? Whenever a new video comes out or you're ready to put another one up, kindly let them know. And stuff like that, you build a relationship with these people over time that whenever you do have these tentpoles that you pour your heart and soul into, you have this group of people that you can reach out to and kind of expand on your marketing strategies and stuff like that. So that's just two of like the really, really important areas of analytics. You could literally spend an entire day learning stuff on there that will help you as a creator. So.
Cool. And Taryn.
Very smart, Richard. I wish I spent more time with the blogging community. I'm just trying to take it one day at a time. No, as far as analytics goes, I put tail slates at the end of every single one of my videos that are usually around 30 seconds. It's me yapping and directing people to other videos, telling them to subscribe, directing them to the other YouTubers that I'm collabing with in my videos. I look at that as my credit roll on a TV show, and I usually try to stick like a fun piece of content at the end of that. I have a massive drop-off rate before the tail slates, as people know, but I find that it's useful for me to get people accustomed to seeing me link to other content or other YouTubers that I'm collabing with. That's been really valuable, and I think it's also been something that's helped get me collaborations with other YouTubers, because my click-through rate is higher than the average, like quite a bit higher than the average, and I think it's just because I've gotten people used to doing that. So I try not to worry too much about the engagement drop-off, but it's usually pretty high until I hit the tail slates. I do watch that. But other than that, I'd say for me, like I really look at engagement across the videos and the like ratio.
Okay, what great answers. For those of you just joining in, I'm Cammie, and this is Jared from YouTube, and we've got Andre Meadows from Black Nerd Comedy, Taryn Southern from Taryn Southern, and Richard Bryan from Rated RR. Now let's pull in questions directly from our forum and see what Jared and our panel have to say. So looking at the forum, we see Farid asks, do you have any tips for increasing subscribers and watch time? And let's start in-house.
Absolutely. So I hear this question a lot from partners, from people who are just starting their channels, and they really want to know kind of what's the secret sauce to watch time. And the answer we're going to give as a guideline is to focus on two things. First, make engaging content that will make people want to stay, and second, engage as a partner, engage as a channel. Make them feel like you're someone they can relate to, and you actually read the comments, and you will they'll hear from you from time to time. So those are the two things we recommend from the YouTube side. But Andre and Richard and Taryn, I'm interested in what you have to say as well.
Who wants to go first?
Andre,
I
let's
should
start
have just
with you.
called someone out. So Andre,
Yes, engagement. Yes, really big part, especially when you're very new. Show that you respond to comments. Show that you're thanking people who subscribe early on. Just definitely show that you're not just putting the videos out there and leaving. That's very important. And then as far as watch time, just be engaging. Be honest with yourself. Because a lot of times we edit ourselves. Be honest. Do you really need that piece in there and this piece? Cut it down to the meat of it all, and just enjoy it. Look like you're having a good time.
Richard.
Yeah, no, good content, I think, is always where you should start if you want any type of longevity with an audience. Yes, you could do a collaboration with somebody and they could drive an audience to you, but you'll probably burn them off if you're not creating good videos within the first couple of weeks. And like Andre said, you got to be honest with yourself. I mean, are you really, really making something that you're passionate about, something that's good? I mean, some people, if you're just lobbing a softball, if you're really putting your heart and soul into something and people don't connect with it, then, ask some people, ask your audience, talk to them and find out what the deal is. Is there something that you could be doing differently? But good content is always key. I mean, you look at some YouTube channels, they start out with just a handful of videos and then they just skyrocket in subscribers because they made 4 or 5 consistent, really, really good videos. And if it's really shareable, then, that audience usually, translates or converts. So start with good content and then you can start figuring out the different strategies around marketing and collaborations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Cool. Taryn?
I mean, just briefly, if this is my Simon Cowell moment, right? I think good content is a bit of a confusing term only because on YouTube, you can shoot a video from your bedroom and it can go viral or it can get a huge audience because you have a specific point of view and because you yourself are interesting to watch. So it doesn't necessarily have to have high production value, although I think that's always a plus. But as long as the content's interesting. So just kind of piggybacking on what they're saying, but I think being a little more specific. I feel like there's just a lot of people out there who will try to get in and try to fit into whatever box they're trying to fit into, and they're just not interesting to watch.
Yeah.
It's my Simon, you're not interesting to watch. I will shut you off.
I think it's perfect that you said that though too. Is engaging or good content is always interpreted as high production value,
right.
And I think a really, really good example of that is my buddy Clint Jones from Punisher. He created this series called Cardboard Warfare, and had he had all the airsoft guns to create this Freddie Wong corridor digital style video, it probably would have got lost in with all these other thousands of kids, trying to create videos to emulate that stuff. But because he was forced creatively to think outside the box, and so he just started cutting weapons out of cardboard and stuff like that, and he actually came out with a really, really unique concept for a video, and it ended up working out really well for him. So
that's awesome.
Absolutely, I definitely agree with that feedback. It bubbles into the next question, which is from Renee, and she wants to know, how can you capture the attention of a diverse demographic? And so I think going off from exactly what you guys said is you have to know exactly what you are talking about, what appeals to you, what you're passionate about to begin with, and then you can start seeing who else is interested and what other ideas they have for you to do as well. So just like with all of the different creators who want to get into gaming or into action clip content like Freddie W, is you kind of take your own unique approach, and then you can iterate from there. You can then expand. So Andre, what's a good example you have or a tip on how to appeal to a wider demographic?
Yeah, I would just say that whatever it is that you're really into or really passionate about, that you just go for it. I think the downfall of trying to please everyone is you end up pleasing no one. It's like you can't reach. I mean, there's so many people that watch YouTube, so it's going to be very hard. So I think if you can really engage and really be passionate about a certain topic or a certain theme that people would be into, the people that are already into that topic or theme are going to obviously be there and join you. But it's going to encourage people who may not be into that to want to look into it. I can't tell you how many 12-year-old kids write. I have never heard of Gremlins before because I wasn't born yet. But now I know everything there is to know about it, or I finally watched it because of you, and I love it. Like that's, once you get to the circle over here, and it's like, oh, we really like this cool thing. You always got that one person like, well, I want to know what's going on over there. So, your passion can bring people in. So I think that's a very important thing. Don't try to be like so generic to think that it's going to cater to everybody because it gets boring sometimes.
Richard?
No, I agree. I think that's actually the future in itself of YouTube and online content is that we saw way back in the day whenever it was broadcast television, the type of formatting of television and stuff like that was very, very broad. And then when cable came out, it was more specific. You had your ESPNs, your Cartoon Networks, and stuff like that. And online, I feel like we have the opportunity to create ultra niche, and that stuff I think, and will really start like taking off here in the last few years and even into the future. I think be very specific with your voice and own it. And if it's engaging, then I think it'll do well.
Taryn.
I agree with these guys. I have actually nothing to add. I'm serious. I think you guys are on point.
So the other thing that I've also seen is if you have a really good story to tell, I think that can actually capture a pretty wide demographic. I mean, a good story is a good story. It doesn't matter, you can read the Harry Potters. Harry Potter is a great story to read, even as an adult or a teenager. So I think that a good story can actually go a long way as well. All right, everyone. We're out of time, and thank you to Andre from Black Nerd Comedy, and Taryn from Taryn Southern.
Thank you.
And Richard from Raider RR for joining us.
Thanks.
I'm Cammie.
I'm Jared.
From YouTube, and join us next time for Maximize Your Channel Hangout. See you all soon.